Greetings and welcome to another lecture in Introductory Psychology. This one is in the field of social psychology, specifically love and attraction. Now, as you might imagine, this is a rather broad field. It covers a wide range. Because we use love or attraction, perhaps more specifically, to mean almost everything. Uh, and also some of these words carry a bit of baggage. Love carries some baggage with it. People hear the word love and they start assuming things, which is why psychologists tend to like to use the words like interpersonal attraction and such like. Because when you think about it in the broadest possible sense, love can cover everything from liking all the way up to what we generally consider as love, and even some things that we might not. There's lots of theories on love and liking and attraction and affection and everything else. What I'm going to do is focus here on one specific type of love. And generally, it's what a lot of people think of when they think of love anyway, and that is love for a spouse or a partner. This is not loving your child or loving your car, at least I hope it's not. This is loving someone, a husband, a wife, whatever. Okay? Now, therefore, it has a sexual component to it. Sexual attraction goes along with this type of love, particularly in the first type, which in the U.S. we tend to think is the only. I'm actually going to talk about two types of love that you could have for a spouse or partner. The first type, as I said, is what we tend to think of when we think of love. It's called romantic love or passionate love. This is what people go through, what people feel, for instance, when they say that they have a crush on someone or they're infatuated with someone. It's because they have this particular feeling, huge feelings of affection, attraction, sexual and otherwise, and oh my goodness, this person is perfect, they're wonderful, I love them. It's an obsession, really. Because when someone is in romantic love, pretty much the only thing they can think of is that other person. It's all they think of, it's all they want to talk to, it's all they want to talk about. And in fact, if you're friends with someone who is in the throes of romantic love, oftentimes you find this person gets a bit tedious because you may want to discuss some other topic of conversation while they do not. So romantic or passionate love is marked by a couple of things. One of the major things it's marked with are huge emotional swings. This is not a gentle ride. This is like a roller coaster. Okay? 1 minute you're up, the next minute you're down, the next you're twisting around and sideways. You might be a little nauseated. You've probably been all of these things when you've been in love, including the nauseated part. Okay? 1 minute you're up, oh yes, I'm with that person. We're going to see each other tonight. Isn't this wonderful? And then you get a phone call or a text. Boom. Oh no, I can't see them tonight. They don't love me anymore. They're going to find somebody else. I suck, I suck, I suck so badly. And then you get another text. Oh yes, but we're going to see them a little. You know, you're up, you're down, you're whipped around, you're dizzy, you're nauseated. It's an interesting ride. And part of the reason for that is because romantic and passionate love is not based in reality. Sorry, it's not. It is not based in reality. It is based basically on not knowing the other person. That is what drives this. Because you have to admit, if you don't know that other person that well, then they're perfect. You can create them into any image that you want. And so a lot of romantic and passionate love goes on in our minds, in that we can think, oh, they're perfect, they're wonderful, they're fan. It's very difficult to fall into romantic or passionate love with someone that you know really well. With someone, for instance, that you've been friends with for a while. It's very easy to get a crush on somebody you don't know. It's much more difficult to get a crush on someone that you know well. And because, well, at least partly because romantic, passionate love is based on mystery, is based on not really knowing the other person, it also tends to have an expiration date. Romantic love cannot last. Nothing that fiery, nothing that extreme can last. There's only so long you can ride a roller coaster before you have to get off and recover. And so romantic or passionate love only lasts on average somewhere between 6 and 30 months. Now, this is kind of a problem because in our culture we have more or less been trained by Hollywood, by television, by books, by music, by culture in general, that this type of love is the only proper and appropriate type of love between partners. This is it. When this goes away, it's gone, it's done. You need to go and try to find it with someone else. And as you can see, that'll be a problem because there are almost no cases where this kind of fiery, intense roller coaster love lasts longer than a couple of years. This is why in this country we have a lot of what's called serial monogamy. S-E-R-I-A-L. Serial monogamy. People are only with one partner at a time, but they change partners relatively frequently, whether through divorce or breaking up and finding someone else. Because a lot of us, since we've been trained to think that this is the only kind of love, we think that once this begins to fade, then you're not in love with the person anymore. It's time to go find someone else that you are in love with. But of course, the odds are that is also going to fade in time. Now, before I go on to the second type of love that will hopefully supplant this in a relationship you might be having with someone else, I do want to mention that length of time is rather interesting. My formal training as an undergraduate was in zoology, biology. And so I look at this and I think, okay, most people are heterosexual. And prior to the development of effective birth control, let's say you have a heterosexual couple in the throes of romantic or passionate love, what is very likely to happen in 6 to 30 months of this type of love and affection and attraction? And yes, the proper answer is pregnancy. It's been suggested that romantic or passionate love is basically nature's way of throwing people together long enough for the female partner to become pregnant and therefore reproduce the species. After all, as biologists like to joke, a human being is just a gene's way of making other genes. Okay? That's probably a little simplistic. It's very difficult to take any human behavior and boil it down entirely to biological motivations, although I do think that we're affected by them a bit more than we like to let on. But that is a very interesting number. And by the way, this does not mean that non-heterosexuals do not fall in love. They do. Okay? It does not matter your sexual orientation. Love hits you in the same way. Okay? It may be based perhaps on a biological level on reproduction, but that does not mean that that is the only reason that we fall in love. And also the only reason we have sex. There's a reason the sex feels good. So we keep doing it. Do keep that in mind. I'm not saying don't read things into this that I'm not putting there. So we have romantic or passionate love, fiery, huge, surging emotions. By the way, passion has a meaning originally that is something along the lines of pain or torment. And I find that very amusing that we call love passion, because love indeed can be painful and a torment. But there is a second type of love, as I said, that hopefully will come about after this romantic, passionate love has burned out. It's called companionate love. And as you can tell by the name, it's based on being a companion to someone. It's based on being friends. In romantic love, you can be in romantic love with someone that you are not friends with. And in fact, you would never be friends with this person. And the only reason you're with them, of course, is that you are having a crush on them. Trust me, those relationships don't last once the crush starts to die out. But companion love is based on friendship. It's based on knowing the person. Remember, romantic love is based on fantasy. Companion love is based on reality. Maybe romantic love only lasts from 6 to 30 months because when you're shacked up with someone, you're living with them, whether married or not, for 6 to 30 months, the bloom is pretty much off the rose at that point. You know all their bad habits, they know all your bad habits. But in companionate love, you know their bad habits, they know your bad habits, you love each other anyway. You love each other despite those. Even though they're not cute anymore the way these things were cute when you were in romantic love, and now they drive you up the wall. In companion love, hopefully, it's like, well, yes, you drive me up the wall because you do this, but I love you, and I'm glad you love me even though I drive you up the wall because I do that. It's based on trust. There's little or no trust in romantic and passionate love. It's part of the reason why when you have a crush on someone, you want to be with them all the time. Because whenever you're not with them, part of you is thinking, what if they find somebody else? What if they find out, they discover and realize that I suck? What if that happens and we go to break up? So I got to be with them all the time. I want to be with them all the time and make sure that everything is wonderful and make sure that everything is good. Well, companion love, you trust the other person. You like the other person. You're friends with the other person. It is not a roller coaster. But like I said, how long can you ride a roller coaster before you need to get off, take a rest? Companion love is less a roller coaster and more maybe something, well, a merry-go-round is a bad analogy because you go around in a circle enough times you're going to get dizzy that way. But companion love is more a nice sort of not very exciting but fun ride that you could be on. And actually, if you go with the water park example, a romantic, passionate love would be going down those giant slides. They have some of these slides where you're going like straight, almost vertically down. And trust me, those are scary. I've been on one of those once. That was sufficient. But usually water parks also have what they like to call something exciting like lazy rivers, which are essentially just that. They are streams that oftentimes go around the water park, and you just sort of get in there and you sit in your inner tube and you float. Those are really quite nice. And you could stay on that all day. I know, because I have. And companion love is more like that sort of lazy river water ride. It's not as exciting, but you can rely on it and you could stay on it forever. Because companionate love does not expire. Companionate love with time just becomes deeper and richer and better. And in a way, that's better than the roller coaster. You might miss the roller coaster. And if you read women's magazine, Women's Day, Family Circle, those sorts of things, very often they have articles that say things like, put the spark back in your relationship. And you know what they mean for you to do when they say that? They want you to do something different. Something unusual. Something that your partner would never expect. Because what does that do? It brings the mystery back. It brings the mystery back. It brings the fantasy back. Oh my God, I thought I knew this person so well, now I don't. Ooh, sort of thing. And so, therefore, it might bring a little bit of that romantic love. Now, it's not going to last. Because even if you keep up that new and interesting thing, eventually that's going to become old hat. And you can't always be coming up with new and interesting. But it does kind of show you that romantic love is based on mystery and fantasy. And companionate love is based on knowing the other person, knowing their faults as well as their virtues, and loving them anyway. So if you're in a relationship and you're noting that the romantic, passionate side of it is dying out, stick with it. The companionate that is very likely to follow is not half bad.